The species that you and all other living human beings belong to on this planet is Homo sapiens. During a time of dramatic climate change 300,000 years ago, Homo sapiens evolved in Africa. Like other early humans that were living there at the time, they gathered and hunted food and evolved behaviors that helped them respond to the challenges of surviving in an unstable environment. The closest living relatives of humans are chimpanzees and gorillas. With the sequencing of human and chimpanzee genomes, current estimates of similarities between human and chimpanzee DNA sequences range between 95% and 99%, but there's an entirely different world of thought that I'm about to hit you with, that there are actually other human-like species that existed before us, and they are pretty freaky. I am, of course, your host, Che Dorena, and I want to welcome you all back to Most Amazing Top 10. Today we're going to be counting down the top 10 scary extinct human species. For those of you watching at home, I gotta let you know that you have the chance to win some big moolah. That's right, there's a lot of money on the table and it is super easy to grab. This spring we're going to be giving away $5,000 in cash prizes. The next giveaway is going to be $1,000. That is huge. A lot of people would love to win $1,000. All you have to do is you have to follow at Landon Productions and follow at Most Amazing Top 10 Official on Instagram. You have to find the post that tells you about the contest and you have to write in the comment section what you would spend the $1,000 on. And the final step is you got to tag 3 friends. So that's all you got to do. All you got to do is follow, find the post, comment on the post, and then tag 3 friends, and then you are entered in the contest, and we're going to be announcing the winner on the 29th of May. And without taking any longer, let's get into this list. Coming in at number 10, we have Homo heidelbergensis, also known as Heidelberg Man. This extinct human ancestor walked the earth about 600,000 years ago in Africa, parts of Asia, and Europe. They are believed to be the direct ancestors of Neanderthals, and some archaeologists even argue that they are archaic or early Neanderthals. Heidelberg Man was an exceptionally tall ancient man. They hunted and butchered large prey and may be the first species of Homo to intentionally bury their dead. I wonder what those funerals must have been like. It was like Glue Perp was a very fast runner, but he wasn't so fast that he didn't get mauled by a saber-toothed tiger. And now let's move on before the same thing happens to all of us. At number 9, we have Homo rudolphinus. This extinct human ancestor is only known through a small number of fossil bone fragments. There have been some debate on whether or not Rudolphinus is the earliest known member of the Homo genus or is a very late member of the Australopithecus genus. Due to the scant nature of the remains, not much is known about the species, but evidence suggests that the brains were proportionately larger than the other earliest members of the Homo genus. These guys were huge eggheads. No wonder they didn't make it for a very long time. I don't think nerds would have fared well before laws were invented. Well, they did have laws back then. It was just who could punchy punch the bestie best. Next up at number 8 is Java Man. This early human was actually made up of 80% coffee, and that's how it got its name. And the reason it went extinct was because it was brewed to death. That's a stupid dad joke. And hopefully you didn't believe that because I just made that up. But this next part is true. In the early 1890s, the tooth and skull cap and thigh bone of an extinct human species were found by a team of archaeologists in East Java. That's what gave this discovery the nickname Java Man. It was a big deal at the time, as the bones at that point were the oldest known hominid ever discovered. It was originally argued by some archaeologists that Java Man was the ancestor of Homo erectus, but there were some who said that it was the so-called missing link between ape and man. Coming in hot at number 7 on this list is Homo denisova. One of the more recent discoveries of an extinct human species was made in the Denisova cave in Siberia as recent as 2008. Only very few remains have been discovered so far, but thanks to advanced DNA analysis, it has been possible to sequence the genome of Homo denisova. It has been possible to show that some people in Tibet have snippets of Denisovian DNA, the same way that some Europeans have tiny percentages of Neanderthal DNA. Coming in at number 6, we're bringing you PENGHU Man. He was made out of clay and his mother beats him with a frying pan, while everyone in his life is extremely volatile. If you don't understand that reference, I feel very sorry for you. Another extinct human found in 2008 was Homo heidelbergensis. If you can't say that name, just call him the catchier nickname PENGHU Man. I struggle with that every single time. PENGHU Man's fossilized mandible was discovered by fishermen working near PENGHU Islands off the coast of Taiwan. It is extremely thick and has gigantic teeth, which puzzled scientists for several reasons. They were like, how did a creature that didn't have access to a high-carb diet and squats get so thick? I'm just kidding on that one. They have been able to determine that it was the mandible of a previously unknown species, and that it was probably very similar to Homo erectus, but larger. It has so far not been possible to date this fossil, so they are not sure when the species was alive, but finding this incredibly strange fossil with very little to compare it to, it is clear that it doesn't exist anymore. thankfully. We are at the halfway point of this list, and for number 5, we are at Manisi man. Homo georgicus, otherwise known as Manisi man, is a species of extinct human which has been found in Manisi, Georgia. The species has a very small brain, unlike many of our extinct ancestors. The 5 skulls, which are evidence of Homo georgicus, were discovered in 1991, and since then they've been subject to much debate. They may have been an intermediary between Homo erectus and Homo habilis, but there are some scientists who think their skulls are simply examples of Homo erectus. Despite having small brains, the fossils are associated with a total of 73 tools, which proves that a large brain is not always necessary to use tools. Although I would not want to be around the dude who has a small brain and a bunch of tools. He's either going to do a terrible job fixing your car, or he's going to be rooting around your insides before you have the chance to introduce yourself. Coming in at number 4, we have the Red Deer Cave people, the most recently known archaic human to go extinct. The remains of the Red Deer Cave people have been dated approximately 11,500 years ago, meaning they were still around about 28,500 years after the last pure Neanderthal. Some scientists think the Red Deer Cave people were a hybrid of Homo denisova and modern humans, but attempts to sequence their DNA have not proved successful, so it's currently impossible to say for sure. We're finally down to the top 3 here of the most amazing top 10 list of scary extinct human species, and now we have Homo naledi. Evidence of Homo naledi was unearthed in 2013 in a cave in South Africa by cavers who were able to access a chamber in the Rising Star cave system for the very first time. 30 meters down or 98 feet below the surface, it's strewn with thousands of bones which have unique and interesting features, with 1,550 currently excavated and many more remaining in the cave. Some of their features are archaic and resembling specimens from 20 million years ago, but they also have more modern hominid features, and their bones have been dated about 250,000 years ago. It has been concluded that they are not direct ancestors of modern humans. Coming in at number 2 on the list, we have the Hobbit. In 2004, researchers made an announcement that a discovery had been made on the island of Flores, Indonesia. The people on the island had long talked about Ubu Gogo, a race of short-haired hairy men who lived in the caves. Astonishingly, the discovery of stone tools and the remains of a small hominid in the cave on the island seemed to prove the legend right. The official name was Homo floresiensis after the island, but they have become known as the Hobbit. Homo floresiensis was approximately 3.5 feet tall with large feet. The Hobbit had very primitive features and a small brain, like our earliest Australopithecine ancestors, but they were able to use tools and also may have been able to hunt and use fire. Using fire back then must have made you the biggest badass of all time. You could just wave it around and everyone would have thought you were a god, and they would have for sure thought you could just like dance really cool or something like that would go along with the fire. And the moment you've all been waiting for, we are at number 1 on our list, and for number 1 we have the ghost ancestor. A study published in 2019 has shared evidence of yet an undiscovered extinct human ancestor proposed after an AI program determined that there was a ghost population of archaic humans which interbred with modern humans in the distant past. Researchers think the unknown ancestor may have been an offshoot of Homo denisova based on the evidence. With new techniques such as this and advances in fields such as DNA analysis, it is now possible to learn more about extinct species of human than ever before. New species are being discovered and identified with relative frequency, and the earliest discoveries can now be reassessed and analyzed with greater detail. The evidence is pointing not to one unbroken chain of human ancestors, but a rich family tree and a number of offshoots. Exactly how many extinct relatives we have we will probably never know for sure, but with each discovery we are able to add new unique pieces to the puzzle of who we are. But wait, that's not all that we have for you on today's top 10 list, guys. People living today who are in Europe, Asia, and Eurasia have well-defined Neanderthal-derived segments in their genome. These fragments are traces of interbreeding that followed the out-of-Africa human migration dating about 60,000 years ago. They imply that children born with Neanderthal modern human pairings outside of Africa were raised among the modern human and ultimately bred with other humans, explaining how bits of Neanderthal DNA remain in the human genome. The plot thickens. Are previous human species embedded within us somehow? Did we evolve from so-called extinct species that I just presented you with? If you weren't scared listening before, then you might be a little bit scared right now. And that concludes today's top 10 list. I want to thank everyone so much for tuning in. As always, I would love it if you could like, comment, subscribe, and hit the little notification bell. And don't forget to go through all those steps for the contest so you guys can win some big cash money. As always, I have been your host, Chaderena, and until next time, keep checking out these weird bones in the ground and all this stuff. I don't know, get your DNA test to see if you got Neanderthal in it. Coming in at number 10, we have Homo
HEIDELBERGENSIS.
Coming in, oh, we should bring this up. It has been possible to show that some people in Tibet have snippets of Denisovian DNA. The 5 skulls which are evidence of Homo georgicus. The 5 skulls which are evidence of Homo georgicus. Astonishingly, the discovery of stone tools and remains. The remains were given the official name Homo florensis. Floresiensis. These fragments are traces of interbreeding. These fragments are traces of interbreeding.